Hi, and welcome back to Community Hotline. Thanks for staying with us. I'm very happy tonight to introduce you to John Lugton, who is not only a producer here at MetroEast, but also my friend.
Thank you, Monica.
It's nice to have you here, John. Now, John, you are here tonight to talk about a project called Legal Logic. And tell me the backstory on that, if you would. What is Legal Logic all about, and why are you working on this project?
Well, we have been fortunate enough to receive a grant from the Multnomah Bar Foundation Civic Education Fund. Managed to get that out.
That's a mouthful.
And this is our second grant we've received from them. And we decided to do something a little bit different with this one. And last year we were working on another project which had us down at the courthouse loads and loads. Two great videos. It was good fun, yeah. And during that process, we kind of realized that there were a couple of areas that were really kind of interesting. And one of them is judicial independence, and the other one is the diversion courts. And so we had the grant, and we were planning on doing a talk show, public affairs kind of style thing. And, you know, those both seemed like some really good topics to pursue, so as we could let folks out there know a little bit more about what's going on.
So you're basically going to educate people on things that they probably always have wondered about, but they've never had it explained clearly. Is that it?
That's a good way of putting it. The two larger videos we made over the summer are really like one of them is about the court system in general, and one of them is about what happens in a courthouse. And these are just two facets of what can happen in a courthouse and concerns about the judicial branch of government.
Yeah, it's funny. I've watched the first projects that you worked on, and you know, thinking that I know quite a bit about the system, but really I learned a lot. I mean, because everything was explained really clearly. It gets confusing, and what you learn maybe back in high school or college or whatever is, you know, sometimes it gets muddled up through the years, and things have changed too. Yeah. So this project, however, you have two different areas you're going to be talking about. You brought a couple little clips, little snippets, if you will, from the project, right? Yeah. Should we take a look at one of them now?
Yeah, I think it'd be good to start with the judicial independence.
Can you set it up a little bit? Tell us what we're going to be looking at, or?
Well, we managed to get an interview with Chief Justice Demunis from the Oregon Supreme Court, and also from Judge Maurer from the Multnomah County Circuit Court. And we pretty much asked them the same question. Okay. You know, are there threats to judicial independence? Simple as that. Okay. And this clip kind of shows that there's two different takes on it. So.
Okay, let's watch that now.
Super.
What's important for the public to understand, and what makes our system the greatest system in the world. You may disagree with the decisions that we make, but one thing you can be confident of is that our decision was made impartially, and what I mean by that, it was made without outside influence. No external source, no governor, no legislator, no president of the United States was telling the judicial branch, you must decide the case the way I want it. And that's what makes us different from all kinds of developing countries in the world. It's what makes our system great.
Judges cannot be persuaded to a particular ruling by dint of the fact that perhaps there was a contribution to their campaign by a special interest group. And as long as the public perceives that a judge, for example, accepted money and knew about the money, there will be a worry that that judge is in the pocket of that contributor. There's no question about that.
Good point. She's absolutely right. So this project is, how long is this going to be? How long of a...
Well, we're going to make two kind of 30-minute talk shows, public affair styled shows. Okay. And the first one is going to be about the subject material we just saw, the judicial independence. And We'll be looking at how maybe taking the Chief Justice's perspective at the beginning about how there's the three branches of government and how they have to be kept separate to maintain the democracy, and so as the judicial branch can remain independent. And then, you know, we want to look at some of the impacts that perhaps are making people doubt that there is really truly judicial independence. And one of the really big things that is coming up is the fact that I think only like 3% of judges are there for life. The rest of them all have to go through some kind of election at some stage. You know, they have a term of maybe 4 to 15 years, but they do have an election. And so maybe they've made a decision that wasn't with, you know, the public's perception of it or the media's perception of it. How does that kind of then impact?
And then people look back to see who contributed to their campaign.
So
who were their supporters?
We really want to explore that and just to get it out in the open for people and to actually, I think in many senses, let them know that the judicial branch is actually themselves really concerned about it. I mean, the public has tremendous confidence in the judicial branch, as surveys have shown, but more and more there's this little inkling as some of these more maybe contentious campaigns may happen, you know, that we're going down that road. So we kind of just want to have a look at that, and we're also going to have we're going to be having a blog, so folks can kind of come on and look at our WordPress blog and kind of look at the clip of what we're doing tonight and see that kind of thing.
So people can actually participate and give their input, or maybe can they perhaps pose questions that they have that you might cover in that?
Yes, certainly. We would consider like using them as material for the program.
Right. So if people are interested in this, which really everybody should be.
Yeah, let's hope so.
Then this is an opportunity to actually be you know, participating in it. I can see this being used in schools. Can you not? I mean, I can see this as a great vehicle to be shown in maybe a high school and to get conversation going about our judicial system. I think it would be great.
Definitely.
Now, the other one that you have is on diversion courts, is that right?
Diversion courts, probably maybe 20 or so years ago, the first drug court appeared in, I think it was Miami-Dade in Florida. And shortly thereafter, I believe the second one was in Multnomah County.
Wow.
And drug courts have really been the start of major diversion programs that go in, whereby, you know, if you're up for several felony charges, you know, there's an opportunity presented there.
So clean up your act, and maybe you won't have to spend all that time in prison.
That's correct.
Kind of what we're saying if you want to get right down to it.
Yeah.
So the diversion courts is, you know, get you into rehab or that kind of thing.
It kind of,
what else plays into that?
Kind of changes the perspective of the normal kind of adversarial approach to a courtroom, and where if you're fortunate enough to get on one of these programs, it's a whole team of people who are in there. You're right. It's people from the judge, people from the DA's office.
It's just not you and your lawyer and whoever's against you.
Yeah, exactly. And so they're looking, in so many senses, that what they realize is it's to do with the fact that if you're an addict, potentially going to jail or prison is not really going to help you.
No.
So
you have a clip from that.
Yes.
Let's take a look at that too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Super.
I think this would be a good time.
So the drug treatment court here in Multnomah County has been in existence for about 20 years. Started by Judge Carl Haas back in the early 90s. And it's designed to offer an opportunity for people who face felony level drug-related charges, so most commonly possession of heroin, possession of methamphetamine, any other scheduled controlled substances. Once they are facing those charges within the court system to have an opportunity to do a drug and alcohol treatment program, very intense drug and alcohol treatment program, in order to have those charges dismissed if they're able to successfully complete drug and alcohol treatment program. So it's designed rather than to be a program where someone ends up going through the criminal justice system and ending up with a felony conviction. It's an opportunity for those who have are facing those charges to have an opportunity to get some help and have a very different outcome than the traditional approach to prosecuting those felony level drug charges.
So unless you deal with the underlying cause, which in this case is addiction, you haven't solved any problem. So our goal in the treatment court is to deal with that addiction. It's phenomenal that 88% of the people who successfully graduate from the DISC program no longer have any involvement in the criminal justice system during our current tracking period, which is 12 years. So the program works.
Well, that's good news.
That is good news, and I think that's the key thing about these diversion courts is, you know, the U.S. has the highest rates of incarceration in the world, which is really quite astounding. And
everybody knows that really incarcerating people usually doesn't change them.
Well, yeah, and that's the key thing, because I think they were finding that, you know, drug offenders and maybe people who've had multiple DUIs who are going in there, at the end, you know, first thing you're going to do is, you know, come back out and continue
and
with
do it again.
And do it again.
Yeah,
so
it's not that they're necessarily criminals, although criminal behavior can go along with that and often and probably usually does, but it's an addiction, it's a disease. So yeah, that's probably not the best place for them.
Yeah, and I mean, and that is part of what makes these diversion courts really interesting. Is there's an opportunity for somebody to basically go into rehab themselves and you know, really change their life at the end of it. And the big plus, I think, is Judge Matarazzo there, who does the drug the DUI court here, the DISC program, is the fact that the recidivism rates, you know, they don't go back and commit further crimes.
That's pretty amazing, actually.
Good
I was
level.
sort of surprised at that high of a percentage.
And there's a pretty decent savings involved.
I'm sure. I'm sure.
Yeah, which, you know, with all we hear about budgets and everything and closing down prisons and, you know, that's it, you know.
If those people aren't out there committing more crimes and they're not ending up back in jail or prison where it's going to cost all the taxpayers more money, I mean, it's kind of a win-win. So what is your program going to actually, is there a point of view on this particular subject? Whereas, you know, the first one you talked about, there's sort of a couple of sort of ways to look at the judicial.
Well, I think with this one, I think the drug courts really set up a model that was then became the alcohol courts, for want of a better word, and they've funneled down, and the model has become more where there's now there's mental health court, there's community court, and because it's such a different model than the usual system, we're going to have people from the county who are dealing specifically with the mental health aspects of it. So many people who are trying to get clean, then suddenly the mental health issues come to the fore.
Right.
So we're going to try and show.
That's the underlying thing in the beginning.
And sometimes, you know, there's been media campaigns to stop, you know, drunk driving, and you know, how successful have they been? The hardened alcoholic is still going to get out and drive, and probably is pretty functional. So there's some debate in there for some people that say, hey, why are we really offering them a second chance? So we'll be exploring it probably from the drug to the alcohol, and then looking at some of these other services that are coming there. And again, of course, we'd love for people to go to the WordPress blog and basically contribute to it and
participate. Be a part of the conversation.
Exactly, and hopefully help us have a great conversation when everybody comes in the studio.
Good. I think that sounds great. Well, we're out of time, John, but thank you very much for being on. And I think the blog address will be on our screen so people can write that down and be sure to participate. Is that up and running now, or will it be?
It will be up and running.
Good deal. Thank you very much,
You're
John.
welcome.
And please don't go away. We'll be right back with some great stories about a project going on right here in Gresham. I'm Monica Weitzel. This is Community Hotline. We'll be right back.